let me put it this way. Sometimes I'm more proactive in terms of getting vaccines to people. We need as much cooperation as possible between private sector and public sector to get vaccines to people. One of the, as you know, across the country, private hospitals and mission hospitals account for something like 45% of our healthcare facilities. But if you look at the hospitals and mission hospitals, especially in rural areas where over 70% of our people live, the involvement of private sector and mission hospitals in driving up vaccination has been very low. So what I would like to see is closer collaboration between the Ministry of Health, county hospitals, and private sector players in health, mission hospitals in health. Let us get the vaccines to the people. We need to get them as close to the people as possible. We don't want Kenyans traveling long distances to access a health center where a vaccine is available. There are infrastructural issues around this vaccination. Just give you an example. I have been doing a tour around Kakamega County, and in some places, some of the counties where, you know, villages are very remote, it is very difficult for people to the place where vaccination is happening. In fact, one of the things I have been supporting personally is, you know, getting transport for people to go to health centers, paying border people to ferry people to. We need to see the government using mobile clinics. What happened to Beyond Zero mobile clinic, for instance? We need to see these vehicles moving around to the villages. We need to see counties which have ambulances, loading up the vaccines on those ambulances and going to where the people are. I know a lot of counties have organized their counties into village units. Kakamega County, for instance, has a very good infrastructure of community health volunteers. We need to use every tool possible, every person possible, get the vaccines the way we do polio drive, the way we do measles drive. Let us get, if the vaccines are available, let's put them in ice pack.
Okay, Dr. Achieng. Thank you so much. Coming back to you, because you're talking about a lot that, you know, centers around what the government has done so far with regards to so many things that touch on the wellness of our country. So just to stay with us on this conversation. And in studio, we are talking about the State of the Nation address expectations. This is supposed to be happening this particular afternoon. The head of state is expected to address a joint sitting of Parliament to deliver his 8th State of the Nation address. And joining us also now in studio is lawyer Steve Mogaka. Steve, thank you for creating time for us this morning. I've been engaging Fred Okango, the Secretary Political Affairs of KANU, and also John Wanyama, a political commentator. And on Zoom, we are also having this conversation with Dr. Brian Makamo Lishenga, political commentator. So because you've just joined us, you know, Steve, I'd allow you to pick it from this particular point. We are on the subject of the COVID-19 pandemic. It formed, you know, part of what the head of state addressed last year. And one thing that, you know, came out of our conversation earlier was how Kenyans have treated this pandemic and how the government at some point has had to push Kenyans to do what many would say is the right thing. I don't know what would be your strategy in terms of changing the narrative going forward, because there's a new variant that has just been detected and it's lethal, considering what the experts are saying. We have to change a strategy on how we're addressing this pandemic. What do we do different?
I think, thank you so much, and good morning, viewers. Indeed, COVID-19 is the single threat to the survival of any country worldwide. And from the experience that we've seen in other countries like India, Brazil, and what is going on in other areas of Europe, I think Africa, and Kenya in particular, needs to really wake up to the reality that COVID is here, and it is likely to sweep out humanity. I know Kenyans, and I'm one of them, are skeptics and are late-minute chancers. And when you talk about COVID, to many of us, that is a movie you are talking about. And therefore, as a country, and the way to change tact is to really get a mechanism of doing civic education to get to everybody. Get community participants to champion the COVID-19 situation in this country. Provide vaccination clinics, just like we were providing HIV testing kits everywhere in the world. This is the time that we really require a clinic for vaccination virtually in every village in this country. And then we must have community champions who get trained from within the community to really be able to communicate to our populace and buy in on people agreeing to volunteer to do the vaccination. And I like what Minister Kawe or CS Kawe was saying. Really, if those of us who have chosen not to be vaccinated are going to insist that they get public service from public officers who have been vaccinated and thereby infect them. Really, as Kenyans, there is a limit beyond which we can exercise our freedom. And it is really going to be perhaps the way going forward. If you are not vaccinated, government service should be virtual and not personal.
All right.
And we may have to consider now literally using the Public Health Act to quarantine people who have not been vaccinated, and it comes as serious as that.
People thought that was sort of an infringement of their right, you know, to choose. People thought that you had a choice to decide whether you want to be vaccinated or not. That pushing Kenyans to that extent that you're going to be denied government services if you're not vaccinated, then that's an infringement of your right. What's your take? Your legal mind on
Serfine,
this?
I'm a constitutional lawyer, and the liberties of a citizen are the most fundamental rights in this country, and one of them is the right to life. Yeah. As a citizen, I am entitled to the right to life, and the government has a duty to protect my life. And if therefore careless people who do not want to take vaccination want to go around and infect me and threaten my right to life, then really that is where the Public Health Act comes in, to protect those people who are infectious, because COVID is a communicable disease. And this is what everybody must understand, that anybody infected with a communicable disease has no business interacting with other people.
All right, there's a big question on the gains we have achieved as a country courtesy of this pandemic, and there are quite a lot. We'll be talking about those, what the government has done, the level of investment in the health sector in just a bit. But we want to hear from the residents of Kisumu County, and we have our reporter Wycliffe Okech, who has been out and about just to get the opinions of Kenyans on the expectations ahead of the State of the Nation address by the head of state. He's joining us now live, just so that we can be able to hear what Kenyans expect this particular morning. But it's an address that comes just a year before the next general election, and the head of state is going to really be careful on how he's going to defend his scorecard and what he has achieved as his track record as he led the country for the last 9 years. And of course, we will be expecting him to also touch on the way forward, what is left, and how he's planning to catch up with the lost time as he finalizes his term. So gentlemen, Kenyans, you've heard it from them. They want the president to talk about his success. Some asking there in whose hands we say if the president should consider that. Others are concerned about the Big Four agenda. Others are concerned about the COVID-19 pandemic, what you were discussing earlier. But let me take you to the Big Four agenda, because something that is going to be pivotal in this address by the head of state this afternoon is his legacy. People are going to be looking at what he is leaving the country with. And it centers around the Big Four agenda. Let's give it a scorecard on a scale of 1 to 5. I'll just run this across. And on a scale of 1 to 5, before we begin to dissect the Big Four agenda scorecard, how do you rate what the Jubilee government has achieved? Should I start with you, Wanyama? Don't explain, just tell me on a scale. I'll give you a chance
out of 5,
to justify your
1
score.
to 5?
Yeah.
They have tried. I can give them 3.
3. Yeah. All right. Steve?
He stole my answer. I would give them 3.
3. Fred?
I would give them 3.5.
3.5. Okay, so I want to know the why behind this 3. Why not 5? It's been 10 years. This promise has been, this promise that the Jubilee government gave Kenyans. Why 3 on almost the last lap? Let me begin with you, Wanyama.
Thank you very much, my sister. The Jubilee government promised Kenyans quite a number of things to be done within a period of the first 5 years, which they have tried. They talked of the stadiums, they talked of the issue of the laptops, they talked about the issue of inclusivity during the second term. They have tried, but the challenge is this. We are human beings, and there is no one who is perfect. If I say I'm perfect, I'll be lying. The Jubilee government, they have had some sort of, they could not score the 100% because of, one, the issue of corruption. The president may have had the goodwill of implementing each and every agenda he had put on the table. Unfortunately, because of corruption, like what we witnessed during the NYS 1, NYS 2, and the KEMSA scandal, it has denied them a mark. 2 is the issue of tribalism. You know, the biggest problem with this country is tribalism. No one wants to say that I'm a Kenyan. We identify ourselves with our tribes first. So the issue of tribalism at 1 or 2 points has also hampered the delivery of government services. For instance, you will agree with me that if, for instance, someone has been picked to head a certain department, people will ask, is this person from my community? Is this person, do I know him? Is he from my region? And as a result of that, if let's say that person has been posted in your area to oversee something and it's not from your area, you will see that that person does not get the goodwill from that particular community. The other thing is politics. And unfortunately, we have had a lot of politics since President Kibaki was, President Uhuru was sworn in during his second term. The deputy president started campaigning and talking about the issue of 2022. This thing has really...
politics has always been part...
It has been a part, but look at it.
Part and parcel of...
The president has just been sworn in today. Tomorrow, you are telling people, elect me to be your president come the year 2022. The first thing is sit down. Tell Kenyans, yes, we thank you, you have elected us. We have 5 years. This is what we told you that we are going to do for you. During our first 5 years, we did this. We were not in a position to do A, B, C, D. But today, we are going to do A, B, C, D. But the first day, and you are telling Kenyans, yes, you have given my brother 5 years. Now, give me another 5 years, come the year 2022.
So this is, you're talking about the first term or the second term?
During the second term.
All right. Fred, you're 3.5. How come they didn't score 5?
I'll start by why they have scored 3.5. Even though President Kenyatta's government has had several challenges, corruption being one of them, COVID-19 another one, and issues of drought another. But if you walk around this country, you drive around this country today, it's basically a construction site. And those are legacy projects. And a young man from Kisumu have just spoken about expectation of the jobs. The Kenya Association of Manufacturers, in collaboration with the TVET stakeholders, the other day launched a portal where the young people with interest in manufacturing can have their skill sets identified and placed so that they can be involved in the production in this country. And that project is going to accommodate over 500,000 young people. Number 2, I started by saying that if you look at President Kenyatta's agenda, is basically mirrored around the Vision 2030 and the legacy project that we can see. The other Friday, the Vision 2030 board launched 3 reports. And in those reports, and takes me back to the Jubilee Manifesto in the second term, the target to achieve 8,000 kilometer of roads was part of it. The Vision 2030 report that is mirrored into this tells us that they have actually covered 7,600 kilometers. And the driving factors were construction. The economy in the Vision 2030 is projected to grow annually by 10%. That has been a big challenge, given the factors I've explained. But the GDP, cumulatively, from the report, we are told it has grown by 2.9%, despite the fact that there are drought, COVID, and the rest. So in my view, and if you look at the contribution towards the growth is construction, and you saw that. So in my view, the president, in terms of infrastructure development, look at Lapset corridor that is going to take care of the ASAL areas, the Kisumu port. Look at the expressway just behind your station here. Yeah. Look at the issues of fight, the effort that the government is putting towards the fight against corruption. For the first time, we have seen cabinet secretaries being taken to court, being arraigned, being fined. We have seen members of parliament be convicted. We have seen the recovery, the asset recovery agency, recovering looted amount of money. We have not been to that level where we would want more, but I think it is progress. So in my view, I do give President Kenyatta's government 3.5 based on that. But however, with the challenges that we have seen, the challenges are not only tribal corruption, but also the people of this country lack faith in the government. So their participation towards sustainable development has been very minimal. We do expect that today, because what the president is going to give us today is actually a report as per Article 132, and that report is done in the address to the nation. The issues of sustainable development, he will speak about them. The issues of integrity. Remember, sometimes back when the president was going to Addis, not Addis, but some country, the Pandora Papers came in. He has not talked about it. This is an issue of integrity. I do believe this afternoon the president would want to talk about that in a manner that portrays how do we deal with such issues, what are the integrity issues about them. The other issue that we have now seen that as a contribution in particularly in second term, is the inclusivity, which is a national value in Article 10 that is expected to talk about today. The inclusivity has managed the president or has enabled the president to work better. Right. You would be advising leaders, you would be encouraging the public to be more inclusive. So if you couple that and give the president the 8 months, I would want to see a situation where our economy grows by another 2-1% or something. All
right, so you gave it a 3.5 and explained why you do that. Steve, in the interest of fairness as well, you gave it a 3 and not a 5. What is it that you feel are the wins by the Jubilee government?
No, the wins have been on infrastructure flagship projects that we must give the Jubilee government. We must give Jubilee government a thumbs up on the fight against a COVID pandemic, however painful it was. We must give Jubilee government a plus for apparent inclusivity, particularly after the election fallout. There was an apparent inclusivity through what they call the handshake. We must also acknowledge that the state has been a bit tolerant to dissenting voices, even from within itself. That is why you'll find a deputy president opposing his boss and nothing happens. I also give them a plus for attempting to observe rule of law, because you remember...
But your choice of words, though, apparent, attempting...
it's an attempt. They may not have succeeded, because when I say an attempt at observing rule of law, this government is guilty of disobeying very many court orders that we must deduct marks from them. But why I give them an apparent attempt to observe rule of law You remember no less than the president has been dragged to court while he's in office, and he has submitted to the authority of the courts of this republic. And that alone elevates the country's observance of rule of law and respect for the laws of this country to a level. But we also are aware that the president and his officers, senior officers in government, have belligerently disobeyed court orders. And to that extent, we must deduct those marks and say there has been an
I'd like also to hear from Dr. Lishenga, if he's still with us, because we are just trying to lay the scorecard of the Jubilee administration bare, because President Uhuru Kenyatta is going to be touching on very many points of that particular scorecard, trying to defend, not even trying, he will be actually defending this particular journey that has taken him, since 2013 when he took office. I don't know where you place the Jubilee administration, Dr. Lishenga. Are you contented as a Kenyan, first, with how far the Jubilee government has taken you? We have just 8 months to the next general election. Are you contented?
Serfine, let's go back to the scorecard for a minute. Big Four agenda. Very, very interesting for me. It's the Big Four agenda has manufacturing, it has healthcare, it has housing. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can.
Just a bit of feedback. So, Big Four agenda on manufacturing, on healthcare, on housing and food security. Let me just give you my quick scorecard on this. On manufacturing, the self-imposed target by the government was to increase manufacturing from 8.4% of GDP to 15% of GDP by 2022. Now, I would score Jubilee on manufacturing. I would not be as generous. I would say I'd give them maybe a 2 out of 5. Now, maybe some of these things are because of control, but 8.4% in 2018, and right now, as we are talking, manufacturing as a share of the GDP has shrunk to about 7.59%. So manufacturing has actually gone down. We've not been able to create enough jobs out of manufacturing. The latest reports we have is that we are competing. We are competing our own. We are competing against our own industries. We are competing against our own industries. I want to give an example of, for example, clinker that is used to make cement. We have very robust cement manufacturing companies in Kenya, which employ a lot of Kenyan people. But we are importing clinker, and clinker is locally available. Now, how this is obviously killing our own manufacturing industry. We need deliberate legislative efforts to protect manufacturing. Let me go to healthcare. Again, Jubilee government set up an agenda to have increase budgetary allocation to health by 12 billion by the year 2022. I have to give them credit on that. In 2020, the budget was about 111 billion for healthcare. The 2021 budget is 121 billion. So they fall slightly short. Instead of 12 billion, they managed to make a 10 billion increase. But at the same time, they wanted to reduce out-of-pocket expenditure on the Big Four agenda, reduce out-of-pocket expenditure by 54%. As we are talking now, out-of-pocket expenditure has not gone down. It's actually gone up to about 60%. The reason why this is happening is when we have the pandemic, a lot of Kenyans who are in the informal sector lost jobs, self-employed Kenyans lost jobs, NHIF subscriptions reduced. NHIF itself said that there are less people who are actually subscribing. The numbers went down by as much as 5 million Kenyans. So you have now more Kenyans paying out of pocket for healthcare. The government has done well in increasing budgetary allocation to health, but there's still a long way from, getting that social security net for all the country, for all the people. If you come to food security, we have not done much on food security. We still have people who are starving. There was a self-imposed target to increase the acreage, the acreage on maize, potatoes, and rice to about 700,000 acres. You know what happened to the maize project in Galana? It didn't pick up. We've not seen efforts around potato that we can talk about, around rice that we can talk about. So I think on food security, a lot still needs to be done. I would still give the government a 2 out of 5. On healthcare, I would give them a 3 out of 5. When it comes to affordable housing, I would say this is where they've probably done the best. And it ties into what my fellow panelists are talking about on infrastructure. So when you have construction projects, Jubilee government has tended to do much better. So on affordable housing, I would give them a 3.5 for that. So if you look at my overall score, they're probably getting about a 2.5 out of 5. So I think that if the president is giving us a scorecard based on his performance, his government's performance on the Big Four agenda, he has to be very honest. At best, it's a 50-50 situation. They are at a 50-50. They have some pluses, but they also have things which they have not done very well. I do not think that necessarily the handshake politics have been bad for the Big Four agenda. Government has bureaucrats, it has technocrats who can actually implement that.
Thank you, Dr. Lusinga. Atudo, you're not being generous this morning. We'll come back and look at... Yeah.
For industries.
Right, I agree with you, because one of the philosophies that the head of state said that forms the Big Four agenda was to jumpstart of net consumption to one of production. So a lot of investment indeed was expected to go into the manufacturing pillar of the Big Four agenda. We are going to be, flipping the coin when we come back on the other side of the break, because there is so much that people say may have interfered with, how the Jubilee government planned to implement this Big Four agenda. That is what we want to talk about when we come back. We are just going to be taking a short break to breathe a little bit, but we are coming back as the conversation continues. Remember, this afternoon, the head of state is expected to be making his 8th State of the Nation address. So what we're doing here is just to discuss some of the expectations ahead of that particular event that will be covered live right here on KBC Channel 1. So do stay with us till the other side.